Before I start this video, I'd like to thank Danielle and Byron for being members of the channel. Feel free to sign up for the membership for uncensored extended content and first viewership before everyone else. Today we're going to North Dakota, Belcourt, North Dakota to be exact, where Savannah Marie Greywind was born on August 9th, 1995. A brief history on Savannah's upbringing. Her parents, Norberta and Joe, raised Savannah up until she was about 9 or 10 years old in Fargo, which is the largest city in North Dakota that runs along the Red River, which is a border between North Dakota and Minnesota. The Red River will be very significant later on in this story. As a young girl, Savannah and her family relocated to Spirit Lake. Here's where she stayed during her earlier school years, where she met her high school sweetheart as a freshman at Warwick, North Dakota High School, and his name is Ashton Matheny. A couple years after graduating from high school, Savannah obtained her CNA in 2014 and moved back to Fargo in 2016. Savannah had a very good head on her shoulders from young. She was driven and focused on her bright future a little more than the average adolescent. She began her career in the health field, working in a nursing home in a town that was once referred to as Devil's Lake, but is now known as Eventide. Not only was Savannah willing to help others and lend herself to her patients, but she was also very family oriented. And it was a cherry on top that her boyfriend, Ashton, was as well, because although young, they had plans on creating their own little family. And with the support of their loved ones, their picture-perfect dream family wasn't far-fetched at all. Savannah had a very tight-knit support system. Her big heart extended to her love for animals, wildlife, and children, especially her little niece and nephew, Odessa and Shane Jr. Now, with that brief background being said, you can imagine how happy both Savannah and Ashton were when at 21 years old, she found out that she was pregnant with their first child. Yes, it was finally happening for them. They were finally building the family they both intentionally set out to have. And thankfully, her family, whom she lived with, and relatives outside of her home were all in. Everyone was excited and filled with joy for the newest addition to their family. And later during the pregnancy is when they found out the baby was going to be a little girl. Now let's fast forward a bit to August of 2017. Savannah's 22nd birthday had already passed. Her belly is out to the center of the earth, 8 months pregnant when she and her family lived in the basement apartment of a 3-story, 7-unit housing complex at 2825 9th Street in Fargo, North Dakota. They lived downstairs from a couple, and the couple consisted of a woman named Brooke Lynn Cruz, 38 years old at the time, and her man, William Hain or Hone, don't really care if I'm butchering his name, and you'll find out why later. He was 32 years old at the time. Now let's get into this couple real quick. Brooke and Will have been together for some years, and they were living together at the apartment for somewhere between 3 to 5 years. Apparently there have been some troubles within their relationship. There's a domestic violence report between them from 2016 when Will had pushed Brooke into a bathroom tub during an argument. He actually had to serve 30 days in jail behind that. Now they both had their own children who were estranged. Will had 3 children, while Brooke has, I believe, 7 based on my research. And they both had lengthy offenses against them, including some outstanding unpaid child support and something much more wicked that I'll get into later in this story. Now, back in 2017, Will was ready to end the relationship with Brooke because things had gotten too volatile between them. And although Will loved her dearly, he was tired of the tumultuous drama, so he broke up with her. And Brooke, realizing she was about to lose her man and not wanting to be alone, ended up telling him some really big news. She revealed to him that she was pregnant with his baby, and although already parents, this would have been their first baby together. Brooke told Will that this would be their chance to finally get the family dynamics right this time and raise their baby together in a healthy, happy environment. Will, so happy and giddy, decided, you know what, Brooke's right, this would be their chance to finally get all their ducks in a row. So he took Brooke back and began preparing for his brand new baby to arrive later in the year. So now we're coming back to August. It's the 19th day of the month. We're still in 2017. It's Saturday afternoon, and Brooke asked her downstairs neighbor, Savannah, to come upstairs to her apartment so Savannah could model a dress that Brooke had been making. And she offered Savannah $20 to do it. Now, the two didn't have a friendship amongst each other, much less an acquaintanceship. They were really just passerbys, two people who recognized each other from residing in the same place, so it really wasn't the norm for Brooke to even speak to Savannah about anything, really. Nonetheless, Savannah figured it wouldn't be of any harm to her to help out a neighbor. And it was approximately 1:30 p.m., shortly after ordering some pizza for her household, when Savannah went upstairs to Brooke's apartment. However, some time had gone by, and her family realized that Savannah still hadn't come back home. She was supposed to take her 16-year-old brother to work shortly before 3 p.m. So her mom sent the little brother upstairs to Brooke's apartment to look for Savannah around 2:30 p.m. But when he knocked, no one answered, so he went back down to his apartment. Then Savannah's father followed up and went upstairs looking for her as well. This time, Brooke answered the door but told Savannah's father that she couldn't come to the door because Savannah was still trying the dress on. So he left and went back downstairs. Since the little brother had to get to work, the mom, Norberta, took the brother to work herself. A few more hours passed and Savannah still hadn't shown up at home, so the family went back up to Brooke's apartment to look for her. But now, Brooke told Norberta that Savannah had already left, which Norberta found strange because Savannah's car had still been sitting outside. Plus, her ankles were so swollen from being pregnant, she couldn't have walked off somewhere that far, and she never went back home to eat the pizza that she ordered. So where could Savannah have gone? The last record of any communication from Savannah is when she sent a text to her mother and boyfriend Ashton, telling them how she ordered the pizza and was going upstairs to Brooke's house to help her with the dress fitting, but after that, nothing. Even when Norberta was blowing up her phone, Savannah never responded, which was completely out of character for Savannah, especially since she was always on her phone, whether she was texting or posting on social media. So now at this point, everyone is terrified, and Ashton was freaking out. His girlfriend and unborn baby were unaccounted for, and they had just signed a lease for another apartment in North Fargo and planned to move there on September 1st of 2017, so they could have a space for the little family that they were building. Her entire family was on it though. They put a missing persons report out for Savannah in hopes of finding the very pregnant 22-year-old. The media picked up on the story and it had been circulating rapidly, with everyone on edge, wondering what happened to Savannah and praying that her and her unborn baby girl were okay. Over 100 people rallied together in the search of Savannah and her unborn over that weekend. Police asked residents to look everywhere. Dumpsters, fenced areas, wooded areas, everywhere. Now, naturally, as investigators have to do their job, they asked questions to the last person that saw Savannah, which was her neighbor, Brooke. And they asked to take a look around her apartment, which Brooke allowed, and everything checked out just fine. No evidence of any wrongdoing, no strange behavior coming from Brooke, or anything seemingly out of place to make investigators feel like Brooke had anything to do with Savannah's disappearance. But they didn't only check once or twice, they actually did a search throughout Brooke's apartment 3 different times that whole weekend. Twice on the day of Savannah's disappearance, and once the next day after. Now, in the midst of all this, a couple days after Savannah's disappearance, Brooke's boyfriend Will was bragging to his coworkers about how Brooke finally gave birth to their baby girl, who they named Phoenix. Now, keep that in your back pocket and let's leap into August 22nd, 2017. During the late hours of the evening / early hours of the morning, Brooke's boyfriend Will was stopped by police outside of their apartment for an outstanding $300 warrant for something else unrelated to the disappearance of Savannah. They picked him up and took him to the precinct. And here's where detectives Nick Jonas and Joshua Luce decided to ask him questions, but not about his warrant. They just used the warrant as bait to bring him in. They wanted to know if he knew anything about Savannah's disappearance, despite finding nothing in Brooke's home just days before. The detectives asked Will what his weekend consisted of, and Will broke down what he did on each day. He explained that on Friday he went to work, Saturday he went to work late and didn't stay the whole day and was dropped off at home at about 2 or 2:30 p.m. by co-workers. And on Sunday he just chilled, took a walk around the neighborhood, but other than that he was just at home chilling. But to go back to Saturday, which is when Savannah went missing, Will said when he got home on Saturday, Brooke said hello to him and introduced him to Savannah. He said he greeted Savannah, went into the bedroom, got undressed from his day and started his shower. He said he then heard a knock on the door and it was Savannah's dad. He claimed he couldn't really make out what was being said because he had the bathtub water running and he didn't answer the door himself because he was half naked. He said he then heard a knock on the door and it was Savannah's dad. He claimed he couldn't really make out what was being said because he had the bathtub water running and he didn't answer the door himself because he was half naked. Brooke had been the one to answer the door. He said Brooke told Savannah's father that she had already left her home a while before he came knocking, and she wouldn't know where she was at that point. Will further explained to investigators that when he was done with his shower, he went to the store and was running some errands, and when he got back, Savannah's family was back upstairs speaking to Brooke. He described it as though he couldn't even get past them and into the door without having to say excuse me in order to get past the people standing there because they were crowding the doorway interrogating Brooke. The detectives asked Will what Brooke and Savannah were doing when he got in the house that Saturday, and Will said they were in the living room doing a dress fitting. Detectives then threw something out into the atmosphere to see if it would stick and asked Will about weed smoking. They asked him if either he or Brooke smoked weed, and Will said he can't afford to smoke weed and Brooke better not be smoking no weed because he spends all his money on bills. They told Will they were asking him that because someone told them that Brooke once went downstairs to knock on Savannah's door and ask her if she wanted to smoke a joint with her. They asked Will if he thinks that sounded like something Brooke would do, and Will said no immediately. They asked Will why he believed Brooke wouldn't have done that. Is it because she'd rather smoke out of a bong instead of a joint? And Will said no, it's because Brooke is a misanthropist, and if you don't know what that means, it's to have a hatred of humankind. When he answers this way, there's a shift in the room, and Will realizes he might have said something wrong. So he switches up his response a little, and he's like, well, maybe she did go down there and offer to smoke. I don't know, but isn't the woman pregnant? And the detectives are like, yeah, she's about 8 months pregnant. And Will is like, well, then I don't think she would offer a pregnant woman something to smoke. Basically, it was a characteristic question, and I don't think Will's response helped at all. But anyway, the detectives go back to that Saturday and ask him how long was he taking a shower for. Instead of answering the question straightforward, Will decides to volunteer information that Brooke got into the shower with him. They ask him if that's normal for them to shower together, and Will said yeah. They asked him if he's ever intimate with Brooke in the shower, and Will answers yes, but not that day, which was odd because why point out that you guys didn't get intimate that day when they didn't ask you about that day in particular? It was just a general question. And if you're listening to this wondering what's up with all these questions and details that seem irrelevant, it's actually very significant because investigators will dance around circles to see how you say things and what information you're willing to give that they can use against you. Hence, your right to remain silent. But let's move on.
I want to talk to you, Will, about this past weekend.
Okay.
Where were you at this past weekend? What was your schedule? What were you doing? Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Friday, I worked. Saturday, worked. Not as much, half day.
Okay.
And then Sunday, I chilled, man. I go home all day.
So Friday.
I mean, I was home most of the day. I mean, I might have went around the neighborhood, but I didn't go far.
So, Saturday.
Yep.
Going a little late, get off a little early.
Yep.
And you get dropped off over at Brooke's house?
Yep.
What do you do when you get dropped off?
Go inside, go upstairs, go home.
About what time is that?
About 2 is what you told me.
So probably about 2:30, yeah. Something like that.
Okay, so you get in, go upstairs.
I seen Brooke, and she introduced me to that Savannah girl.
Mm-hmm.
And she just said, hi honey, glad you're home. This is Savannah. Hey. I went to bedroom, started to undress for my day, started my shower. And her dad fucking come knocking.
Savannah's dad?
Yeah. And then she took her off.
Did you answer the door, or what happened?
I was fucking half naked in the bathroom. I just heard.
What'd you hear?
I just heard her dad talking.
Oh.
Couldn't understand what he was saying. I had the bathtub running.
Okay.
I got out the shower. I went to the store, went and did some running around. And at some point, her family was back upstairs, when I come back. Because I had to be excuse me. That might have been later, though. That might have been after y'all had been called.
Okay. What were Brooke and Savannah doing when you got there?
They were in the living room.
Okay.
Said that something about fitting a dress for her. But I don't know if they were done with that or if they were still doing that.
Did you notice anything when you came in? Were those two smoking weed or anything like that?
No. Didn't have no weed, man. I've been fucking broke.
Has Brooke had any weed lately?
Dude, I pay our whole fucking bills, man. She better not have any fucking weed.
Okay, well, the reason why I bring that up is one of the people involved in this, or not involved, should clarify, one of the people that we've spoken to, which is probably approaching triple digits at this point, had mentioned to another detective that a week or so ago, Brooke went down to the Greywind apartment, to Savannah's apartment, and had invited Savannah to come back up to your place to smoke a joint. Does that sound like something that Brooke would do?
No.
Okay.
Because you smoke out of a bowl, because she doesn't have any weed,
Because she doesn't like people. She's a misanthropist. Maybe she did. Maybe she did go down there and get a wild fucking hair one day and be like, oh, let me go approach this person and see if they want to smoke. But she's fucking pregnant too, isn't she?
She's like 8 months pregnant.
Right, so like I can't imagine her going down there and being like, oh, you want to smoke a joint, you 8 month pregnant girl?
Sounded odd to me as well. And how long until you did come out then?
Well, Brooke come in at some point.
Well, she came in when you were in the shower?
Yeah, she jumped in the shower with me at some point.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe 10 minutes after that.
Is that a normal thing for you guys?
Absolutely.
Okay. Sex in the shower?
Not that day.
Detectives continued to ask questions, and Will's body language continued to shift and slouch, indicating frustration. They asked Will what he was doing the day he was picked up for the $300 warrant, and Will told them he went shopping at Walmart, but couldn't really remember what he went there for other than some new roofing shoes for work because his shoes had holes in them. However, as he was answering this question, he kept shifting back and forth, shuffling his feet, looking on the ground, trying to find the answers, when you shouldn't be trying to find anything if you're being honest. But at that point, investigators got all they wanted from Will and allowed him to leave. Now, remember I told you how Will went bragging about welcoming a new baby girl with Brooke to his co-workers? Well, investigators had learned about this baby announcement when they went asking questions to his co-workers shortly after their line of questioning with Will. His co-workers spoke to detectives and mentioned his new baby, which of course was odd as Will hadn't mentioned having a baby with Brooke before. And if you're wondering why would he bring up a baby, well, most new parents can't stop gushing over their new bundle of joy. So this certainly sent the antennas up on detectives' thinking caps, since they knew that Savannah was very much late in her pregnancy the day she went missing. With a new hunch in their radar, on Thursday morning, August 24th, 2017, a search warrant had been issued back at Brooke's apartment. However, this time she had zero time to prepare herself, and when investigators popped up, busting the door down, literally, they saw the brand new baby girl in the home with Brooke. At this point, police realized exactly what they were dealing with and went ahead with arresting Brooke immediately, and shortly after, arrested Will. They were arrested on suspicion of conspiracy to commit murder and kidnapping, being held at the Cass County Jail with a $2 million bail for each of them. The baby girl was examined at Sanford Children's Hospital before being placed in protective custody with Cass County Social Services, while Savannah's family and the investigators waited for the DNA results to come back and confirmed that the baby belonged to Savannah. Detectives brought Brooke in for questioning, and one of the detectives was Joshua Luce, the same one who was interviewing Will just a couple days before. Brooke's demeanor during this interview with detectives was surprisingly very, very calm. At first, they asked Brooke if she knew Savannah very well, and Brooke said no, she didn't know Savannah well, and that's because none of the neighbors who lived there were very social with each other. So they asked her if she knew Savannah's family very well, and Brooke said no, not really. She said she knew of who Savannah's mother was, but that's only because the mother worked at the dollar store. She said she spoke to Savannah's mother while at the dollar store more than she did at their place of residence. Investigators decided it was time to move on and asked if Brooke had any questions for them, and Brooke asked if there were any updates as to why she was even there in the first place, and the detectives explained to her that her home was still being searched at that very moment, and they were really more so interested in the baby. They pointed out how Brooke was kind of beating around the bush back at her apartment when they were asking her about the infant girl and wanted to know what was going on with the infant and why was the infant even there. Brooke stated all she knew herself was that she was asked to care for a baby, and that's what she did. She was taking care of a baby and making sure the baby was safe and healthy. That's it. Anything further than that, she should probably wait until she spoke to an attorney. The detectives asked her directly if she wanted an attorney, but Brooke didn't answer that question with a direct response, and still Will didn't technically ask for an attorney, so they continued to question her anyway. They told her to sit tight because they'd be there for a little while, not realizing she'd never be leaving.
I'm Nick again. I don't know if you remember from the apartment or not. This is Josh. So we're both working for the police department. Obviously we executed a search warrant in your house. I just kind of want to talk with you about the circumstances.
Sure.
You know Savannah well?
Not very well, no. I mean, nobody in the apartment building, like, knows the other people.
Okay, it's not a real social building. And you said you don't know Savannah. How about her family?
Not very well. I know her mother better than I know, like, any of the other ones. Like, and that's because she works at the dollar store, and I go up and shop at the dollar store, so. Talk to her occasionally. Talk to her more at her job than I did actually at home.
Okay,
So,
she guys have made the connection.
Yeah.
In regards to the search warrant today, any questions or wondering where we're at with things, or?
yeah, well, yeah, I'm just, update, like,
Sure.
I mean,
There's investigators at your house right now.
okay,
Just, they'll be there for a while, just finishing up the warrant.
right.
We're obviously very concerned about Savannah.
Sure,
And
absolutely.
that's why we're here. That's why
Absolutely.
we're at your house.
Okay,
Savannah was 8 months pregnant.
Yeah.
When she went missing.
yeah,
I asked you at your house about the infant.
Yeah.
At your home.
yeah,
You kind of danced around the answer to that question with me as to who, you said the baby's healthy, which is good. We want to put emphasis on that. My question to you is where is baby's mom?
when it comes to that, all I know is I was asked to take care of the baby for a short period of time, and that's what I've done. Above and beyond that, I probably should talk to an attorney.
Okay. So somebody made the
I-
request to you?
Yes. And I've just been trying to take care of this infant until I don't have to take care of this infant anymore.
Are you asking for an attorney, or are you willing to talk to us about that? Because, again, the health and safety of the infant is important.
Absolutely.
The safety of Savannah is important.
Absolutely.
And that's what we're trying to accomplish.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And that's what I want to know, so.
I can talk to you, I mean, I don't know, yeah, I guess maybe I am asking for an attorney. I want to be as cooperative with you guys as I can,
If there's anything that you could tell us that would.
without lawyering up, you know what I mean?
Right, help us find Savannah, if we understand, and that's.
I have no idea. What I told the officers on Saturday and Sunday is absolutely true. When Savannah left my home at 2:45 on Saturday afternoon, she was well and healthy and walking on her own 2 feet.
Pregnant.
Yes, yes, yes.
If you want to speak with an attorney before making any further statements, that's fine. But you have to just hang there for a little while, okay?
How long is a little while?
You see, Brooke was never actually pregnant. Remember when I told you in January of 2017, she told Will how she was pregnant and that's why they should give their love another try? Well, that was just a desperate attempt on her end that worked in her favor of getting her man back. Unfortunately, as time went on, the heat was on too. And Brooke knew she'd have to be able to produce a child to keep the charade up and keep her man. This is when she hatched the idea of stealing a baby. So what role did Will play in all of this, since he was initially kept in the dark about this botched plan? Well, in the meantime of Brooke being held in the interview room, Will was being questioned in the other room. But this time, detectives spoke to him with a jig is up approach. The same detectives who interviewed him before let him know that the search warrant at the apartment was taking place and they've already spoken to Brooke. They asked him straight up, like, what do you need to tell us? They expressed their concern for Savannah's safety and just needed more clarity on what exactly happened, trying to get Will to sympathize and cough up some more information. Will became a bit apprehensive, saying he realized that this entire situation isn't going to be any good for him no matter what, and he knew he wouldn't be going home. This shows some defeat in his demeanor, which showed detectives they were on the right path and they just needed to break him down a little more. So they directly asked Will if the baby girl that was found with Brooke is Savannah's baby, and Will said he wasn't sure whose baby it was. Now, remember I told you earlier about Will being home that Saturday of Savannah's disappearance, and he said he was in the bathroom when Savannah's dad came knocking on the door? Well, in that instance, he didn't exactly lie. He was in the bathroom, but what he didn't say is how Savannah was actually there as well. However, she was placed in the bathtub, bloodied, severed, and dead, with the baby removed from her womb, while her father was at the door asking about his missing daughter. Brooke had killed Savannah and stole her baby. Now, Will actually walked in on the crime that Brooke had already committed, but instead of him seeking help and calling the authorities, he assisted Brooke in carrying out this sick, wicked charade. And remember I told you earlier how shifty his body language was when speaking on what he bought from Walmart the day he was brought in for questioning? Well, he left out the part where he and Brooke bought baby diapers for the baby that Brooke had just freshly ripped out of Savannah's body. Had Will told the detectives about the diapers, that right there would have told investigators everything they needed to know about Savannah missing. And we'll get to the point of when all these details have finally emerged, but in the meantime, I'll continue with the interrogation portion of this story. Just keep in mind how calm and matter-of-factly Brooke's demeanor was during the interrogation, although she knew exactly what she had done. So Will tells the detectives he doesn't know whose baby it was that Brooke had in the apartment with them, and he becomes visibly upset, saying how his life was pretty much over at that point. Detectives asked him if he knew whether or not Savannah was at the residency where they all lived, and Will became irritated, saying if she was there, they would have found her already. They asked Will, well, how come you didn't tell us anything about the baby when we spoke to you before? Will said he was simply covering his own ass. Now, this is when Will reveals that he was under the impression that Brooke had been pregnant all this time. He said he knew Brooke had tied her tubes at one point, but that he learned the tubes can be untied, so he assumed she was telling the truth about being pregnant. He said Brooke was even behaving as though she was afraid that their baby would be removed from their care because of Will's past felony conviction for child abuse. So back in 2012, when one of Will's children was a baby, he fractured the baby's skull, claiming it was an accident because he supposedly placed the baby down too hard, which in my opinion is such bullshit, because what type of hard surface did you place the baby down on so damn hard that the skull just so happened to be fractured? Like, please get the fuck out of here with that. But anyway, he pled guilty to the charges to avoid a 10-year jail sentence. So the detectives asked Will if he believed that Brooke was really pregnant, and Will says he wasn't sure, but he knew at some point she would have had to produce a baby. He was becoming increasingly antsy and frustrated, especially when they asked him when he saw the baby for the first time. Will said he couldn't answer that question and went on to express his loyalty to Brooke and how he promised to have her back until the end. The detectives told him they wanted him to give his side to try and avoid being railroaded, trying to manipulate him into spilling the beans. They told him, like, look, you have no idea what Brooke is over there saying in that other room and how people change when they're in that room talking to the investigators.
We've executed a search warrant at your apartment.
Okay.
Brooke was home.
Yeah.
She's been down here for a little while. We've been chatting with her.
I figured that's why you guys have been gone so long.
Yeah. What do we need to talk about, Will?
I don't know how to talk about it, man.
I want you to understand that we're concerned for Savannah's safety. We hope that you are as well. We would like to have the best possible resolution, whatever that may be, to be the resolution that we come to.
Right.
Okay? We want you to
He's really the talker in this partnership, isn't he?
be perfectly blunt about it, Will. Let's get out ahead of this thing. I don't think it needs to get any worse for anybody else.
Well, it's not gonna get any better for me. Like,
Well, here's the thing.
at the point that I'm at, I'm not going home tonight.
If we play this thing all the way through, okay, at the end of the day, people are going to be reviewing all of these things.
I understand.
Judges and, juries, people will be looking at all of this.
Totally understand.
And I want to be able to give them some sort of reasonable explanation. Maybe not reasonable is the best word. Some sort of explanation that makes this make sense. I want to know what happened, but more importantly, Will, I want to know why. How do you, Will Hain, end up in this position? And I think that maybe you can explain that to me. The baby that's in your house, is that Savannah's baby?
I don't think so.
Whose baby is it?
I can't tell you for sure, man.
Well, that seems kind of ominous. Where did that baby come from?
Don't have a good answer for that.
Is
My wife's just fucking older, man. So
Is Savannah still in the building?
She was. You guys would have fucking found her by now, right? I mean,
Why didn't you tell us on Monday night, Sunday, or Tuesday morning?
excuse me, what?
How come you didn't fill us in better Monday night, Tuesday morning?
Just cover my ass.
But the longer this goes on, the worse it seems to get.
I've been under the impression for like months now that Brooke's been expecting, you know. Didn't think it could happen. She had a doodle down a long time ago.
Okay.
Did a little research, find out that those can come undone.
Sure can.
So, like, you know, I was under the impression that she was pregnant. Well, I have a fucking child abuse charge, man.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, she scared shitless the whole fucking time that, like, when we have this baby, they're just gonna come and take the fucking baby. Was she really pregnant? I don't fucking know. I don't know.
Okay.
But, like, I know that we're coming up on the time of, like, if you are pregnant, you should be producing a baby soon. You know, she produced a baby, man.
What do you mean by that?
Well, you found a baby in my house.
I sure did.
When was the first time you saw baby?
I don't want to say, man. I love Brooke dearly, and I promise to have her back 100% to the end. I promise to have her back 100% to the end, guys. And you know what?
Well, if Brooke did something and she's
You guys-
expecting you to cover for her, that is so unfair to you. It's
I know it would be.
But you
But
also
you know
have
what?
to consider, I don't know what Brooke's talked about, Will.
I don't.
And you don't know
you
what
guys
she's...
aren't about
what
to
you-
tell me either.
No, you're right. I mean, you're
I
a
mean,
smart
I
guy.
get
you
that.
know,
I get how that goes, man. It's like you want to take what she said and then take what I said and then compare notes. I get it. I get how it works, like I told you the other night.
I just don't want her to be able to railroad you and you not have a chance to tell your
I
side of
don't
the
think
story.
she will, man. I don't fucking think she will.
Please don't.
Things change in police interview rooms.
Yeah.
Further into Will's interrogation, he expresses how much he did want to start a family with Brooke and possibly start over and do the family thing the right way this time. They asked Will where was the baby when the apartment was being searched, and he told them the baby was in a makeshift bed that Brooke created out of a suitcase, which speaks to the negligence of the police department, because how is it that they searched that apartment several times and never found the baby? But at this point in the interrogation, police still didn't know where Savannah was.
Where is she?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Because Brooke never left that apartment that I know of, but you did.
Yeah, I left a bunch of times, man. Brooke's almost a shut-in, dude.
And this is where the opportunity to tell your story and not leave it to others.
Right, I get that, man. So, like, I met Brooke, and, like, for years, all I wanted is a fucking family, you know what I mean?
You wanted back what you had before,
Yeah.
because you were happy then.
So, like, at this point, she produced a baby and just told me not to fucking ask a lot of fucking questions, and, you know, it's our baby, and we're fucking being held prisoner, man, straight up being held prisoner, yeah.
Is that what you were talking about when you used it several times? You used the term being terrorized by the Greywind. Is that what you're talking about?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Dude, somebody slipped a note under our door last night that says, "We know you did it." We, N-O, as no. You did it.
What did Brooke say when she saw that?
She was ready to call one of you two. She grabbed them 2 cards that I took from you guys last time.
I wish you had. I do. I wish you had called.
And
We'd have been there.
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Well, that was kind of something that we were trying to avoid.
Do you know where Savannah is?
No.
Do you know if Savannah is okay?
No.
Does Brooke know where Savannah is?
I you met them. I get the same response from her every time.
Which is what?
It's probably the same thing she told you, that she left. She left.
You come home, she's there, you're in the shower, 10 minutes later, Brooke's in the shower, you go on about your business, none the wiser. Let me ask you this, the officers came through your house 3 times, I think?
3 times. Yes.
Was that baby in the house when the officers came through?
Not sure. I don't think she's still there, man. Like, I really don't think she's still there.
Do you think Brooke is capable of doing something to Savannah? If she's maintained this facade to you for 9 months, and now she's got to go through with
I
it?
never would have thought that.
If that's what we're talking about here, then you really need to get out of this thing for your own good.
Dude, it's really hard for me to say that right now, because, like, I'm just stuck in, like, this, in my head. It's like, dude, you promised you'd fucking have her back and protect her as best you can.
You don't owe her shit, okay? This is potentially unbelievably serious situation that you've gotten yourself into here, and you don't owe her shit.
You know that.
You may have thought you loved Brooke. If she's doing stuff like that, she's stringing you along because you threatened to leave or she's that insecure or whatever, she does not love you. She may pretend like she does, for whatever reason. I don't know her, okay? If she's that insane, these are the things that she's capable of doing, then you need to distance yourself from her in a big way. Because if we go talk to her, and, for example, she says, will,
Thinking she's walking out of here by putting it on you.
Nobody's walking out of here, man.
that's their daughter and their granddaughter. And no matter what you or I think...
Are we assuming that's your granddaughter, or do we know it's your granddaughter? Do we know?
I'm assuming.
Are we assuming?
You're in the shower together
Mm-hmm.
on Saturday afternoon. Now, I don't think that anybody's going to sit back and believe that you simply assumed, having had previous children, that your girlfriend had given birth to a child that afternoon, and here you guys are together. Like, that's just not how that goes. And you know that because you've been there before for birth. Nobody's going to believe for a minute, Will, that you were that naive. We've talked too much for anybody to think that you don't understand what's going on.
Dude, my stepmom told me that this was back in the day before they held babies in hospitals for 72 hours, you know, they do that now. She was up and shopping the next day, the very next day.
Mm-hmm.
Totally know it can be done.
Mm-hmm.
When Angela gave birth to my son, man, amazing trooper of birther. It was her first kid. They told her, okay, take a break. And she said, nah, F that. She grabbed the bar and she bared down and the bullets kept on pushing because she could feel it was time. Her body told her it was time, you know what I mean?
Where'd you guys put the baby when the cops came in?
The baby was right there.
You just didn't see it?
The baby was like right there in the bedroom on a stand, man. Just a little, like, she made a bed out of a suitcase is what we were going with. Like, I think it was a suitcase.
Just like on a dresser or something like that? We live in a world of realities and timelines. And we've got a good one right now. But you know that Savannah wasn't at your house long, and that whatever happened, it happened in a short amount of time. And you got home not that long after she arrived at your house. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, right?
Right. Like, I don't know exactly when but you guys should know
We
when
do.
the last time she was seen.
Yeah, and I mean, when she was texting.
She's in multiple text message conversations.
Yep,
Oh,
so we
and we know the minute she stopped.
Yep, so we've got that, and we can narrow it down, and you told us what time you got home.
Mm-hmm.
And we've looked into that a little bit, and you're not lying, which is good. On the other hand,
The conversation between detectives and Will does reach a turning point when Will changes up his story. Initially, he said on the Saturday that Savannah went missing, he came home, took a shower with Brooke, and they just chill, right? But then he told detectives that when he came home that Saturday, he saw Brooke with the baby and a bloody mess all over the floor. He said when he got home, Brooke told him, quote unquote, "This is our baby, this is our family." He said they took all the items they used to clean up and all the bloody evidence in trash bags to some random dumpsters in an apartment complex on the other side of town in West Fargo. The detectives were still trying to get Will to tell them if he knew where Savannah was, but he still didn't budge on providing any location details.
I know you guys think it sounds fucked up, like, I'm just thinking that's the fuck am I eating?
I know.
Like, I know 100 years from now, like, no matter what happens between now and then, you know, that she's gonna have my back. 100 years from now. Like, that's when it's just like, they sit here and think that, like, I know she's got my back.
I think there's probably comfort in that right now.
A little bit. Yeah, there is. Yeah, there is.
That makes sense. I think it's a reasonable feeling.
You know, I asked about where the baby come from, and the only answer I get is she gave me her baby, she left. Doesn't work.
So it doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't work. Where's the baby?
The baby's safe.
You guys named her?
No, we didn't name the baby. What did you see when you came home from work on Saturday? It's okay, Will. What did you see? What did you see, Will?
Saw the baby. Saw the baby shortly after I come home. It's a big mess in the bathroom.
What was Brooke doing? Things you wish you could unsee. What did she say to you then, when you walked in on that?
She showed me the baby. She said, "This is our baby. This is our family."
You said it was a big fucking mess when you came in the door. Can you tell me about that?
It was like blood all over the floor, man.
And what was Brooke doing?
She's trying to clean up. Apparently for birth.
What'd you do with all the blood?
Cleaned it up.
Where'd you throw it? Where'd you throw the rags and the cloth and the tissue? I mean, where'd you throw everything?
I'm not sure where it all went. It all went out of the house. Drove into West Fargo. Found a dumpster. Apartment building. She threw it out. Another different dumpster at a different apartment building. I don't know exactly where it was or anything. Just threw it out.
Just random apartment building dumpsters.
Is she capable? Obviously she's capable. Doing what exactly? I don't know how far. Do I believe in my mind that Brooke could have midwifed the baby? Absolutely. Do I reasonably think it fits the timeline and everything going on? No, not really.
What do you mean by that? Brooke could have midwifed the baby?
And just can Brooke, like, deliver a baby? Absolutely. Like, she even had, like, the midwife suppositories to, like, midwife a baby.
Well, I felt like we were going down, like, the road of reality and honesty. I want to get back there, man. Like, could she? Yes. You're right. She could. You said it yourself in the timeline. No. You walked into a lot more than that.
I just don't think I should say anything else. Because I'm scared, man.
I know you're scared, Will. I know you're scared. But here's where we're at. And this is the time, if any time, where Will needs to think about Will. Because did Will walk into a fucked up situation and see Brooke doing something he never thought possible? Or was this the plan the whole time? I can understand that Brooke had the wool pulled over your eyes for some of this stuff, right? Some of that is believable. If she truly thought that you were going to leave her and this is the way to keep you around, and she's going to put on this act, some of that is believable. But when it comes down to Saturday, and you walking through that door,
I know it wasn't a plan on my part, but I don't think whatever happened was her plan either. Like, I really honestly want to know if she's pregnant right now. Like,
Brooke?
yeah.
I don't believe so.
Does she not believe so?
Walked in, and you said, holy shit, or holy, what the fuck, or what, I mean, what'd you say when you walked in, right?
To that effect, yeah.
Yeah,
Something to that effect.
I
don't know exactly what I said.
you walked into a shitstorm. I mean, maybe not what you expected.
I'm saying what the fuck, I saw a baby and said, what the fuck?
You have them blood all over, right?
Yeah, and there's fucking
And-
like pink blood all over the floor.
In Savannah.
I'm saying that. Well, that's all it is.
Well, consider the possibility of Brooke spinning a tale to try and save herself in this situation. You trust her that much that she's going to say, yep, I did it, it was all me. Will had nothing to do with this. I lured Savannah up to the apartment, I was ready to go, I induced labor, I took her baby, I killed her, I got rid of the body. Is that what Brooke's going to say?
Yeah.
Well, come on, man.
Nope, that's exactly what she said.
That's what she said to you?
No, that's what she said to you guys. That's what she said to me.
Do you want to know?
Without the killing part.
Do you want to know why? Because we're back to reality. Of time.
I understand why you don't want to talk about Savannah with us, Will. Obviously the hardest part of this conversation.
As far as I know, it was wrong. I know that it raised some red flags.
Will,
I know that there were some questions that needed to be answered. I know that all this shit got fucking crazy with the terrorists. Because that's what they are. They're terrorists. When you terrorize somebody, you are a terrorist. So, call it what it is, even though nobody likes to use that word anymore.
you may not have known whether Brooke was really pregnant or not. I can buy that. But to leave for work on Saturday morning and come home Saturday afternoon to a baby, just like you said, that isn't Caucasian, and a bloody mess in your
It was
bathroom.
more about the black hair. It was more about the black hair than the skin color.
And what about the blood and the black hair that's stuck to the ceiling in the bathroom above your bathtub? What about that black hair?
Blood, black hair and blood.
In the bathroom?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a clump of black hair and blood stuck to the ceiling above your bathtub. Again, well, I'm not a medical doctor, but short of her being killed and that baby cut out of her, I don't know how she gets to that point within an hour of you coming home, right?
It could have helped her deliver that baby and she ran away. It could have very well helped her deliver that baby. Said she could run away. That's a legitimate possibility.
Yet, this whole time Brooke's been running a facade that she's pregnant to keep you around. That seems oddly convenient. That it just so happens in your little apartment building on a quiet street in North Fargo, a young lady who's about to give birth is willing to give up her baby so she can run away to a person that's been faking being pregnant for 9 months to her boyfriend because she's afraid he's going to leave.
I don't know that Brooke was faking being pregnant though.
Well,
I still don't know that.
Well, a little bit ago, you were being real quiet and saying that you just can't tell me. You just can't tell me what you saw when you came through that door
I saw a fucking baby in a goddamn mess.
in Savannah.
Nothing.
I think you did. I don't think Brooke could single-handedly pull this off. I really don't.
I think you'd be amazed. You'd really be amazed by that girl.
So your girlfriend has a baby. Oh, happy day. She's cleaning up a big bloody mess when you get home from work. Better hurry up and clean it all up and bag that shit up and go drive it to a random apartment complex in West Fargo and throw away the evidence in a dumpster.
I didn't get rid of it right away, man.
Well,
I didn't get rid of it right away.
so why not use your own dumpster?
Because the fucking gray ones were terrorizing us.